So now that you've seen the sink installation, we're going to talk to you about the rest of the plumbing system. The sink was the most exciting part, but we don't want to leave this part out. It's important too. We're going to talk about the pump, the piping, and the tank that we used, some issues we had, and what our solutions were. Starting off with the pump, we used a sureflow pump that operates at 55 psi or thereabouts. And it's a great pump, doesn't cycle very much, and has adequate pressure for our system. The main problem when we first installed it, it wouldn't stop cycling. So we had to use an Allen wrench and adjust the electromechanical switch on the front of the pump, which is activated by a diaphragm as the pressure increases in the pump in order to get the pump to stop cycling. So it took a lot of time researching and ultimately confirmed that theory with a fellow van lifer on a hike and came back and tried it. Switch works perfect. Don't be afraid to just stick your Allen wrench in there, give it a little bit of adjustment. Counterclockwise decreases the pressure required to push on the switch, so cycling should stop. That was great for us because the first leg of our last road trip, we had to just turn the switch on and off in order to get the pump to stop. So we couldn't just leave it on. So let's talk about the tubing that we used in the system. It obviously is the part that connects the tank to the pump, and then the pump to the sink and our outlet here in the back. So we initially used 1/2-inch braided vinyl tubing. That failed miserably, and it wasn't because of the tubing itself, it was because we couldn't find any connectors for it. We couldn't find the barbed 90s. We did manage to find a T, but just couldn't find the connectors we need to get the job done. We did try to put something together, MacGyver it a little bit, with couplings and 90-degree fittings that were barbed on one end and threaded on the other. Ultimately, those connections leaked, and because we were running short on time and couldn't rely on the internet to order the parts we needed for the vinyl tubing, we elected to go with PEX tubing, which is used in housing applications. It's rated to 200 psi. It's great stuff to use, and the only downside, we did have to buy the tool for it, which was a little expensive. We used a coupon, made it a little easier, but we did have to get the tool. It'll be a good excuse for having a plumbing project in the near future, so not too upset about it, but we did use PEX. It worked really well. We're not worried about leaks anymore, which is definitely worth the peace of mind. So we're all squared away there. The only part we did leave the vinyl tubing in was between the tank and the pump. That is on the vacuum side. So the pump is pulling water from the tank and then it is pushing it under pressure into the rest of the system. On the vacuum side, you want as few connections as possible between the tank and the pump. So we didn't want to have to put an extra 90 in there using the PEX. So we just used the vinyl tubing. There's no leaks. It's not a pressure side of the system, so it shouldn't leak. Very simple to do, and we're happy with it. The PEX we did run to the back here, so we do have it capped off. That is going to be for our rinse off station. We have this beautiful hose, which is supposed to be drinking water safe. It's an RV hose. Basically means they were able to charge us a few bucks more for it, so hopefully it makes the water taste better because we're paying for it, damn it. But we will be plumbing that in. For now, we just have it capped off. I also plan on putting a T there because I want to have a pressure gauge so I can check on the pressure in the system. It'll be easy for us to come back and be able to see that yes, it is operating under 55 psi. Pretty simple. So that is our whole hose setup, minus one hose. We have this bilge hose. This guy is used to fill up the tank. So we have to take the vent cap off the tank as we're putting water in it because the volume of water that we put into the tank, the same volume of air has to come out. So we have this cap on it. It has a nice long reach. I think it's 6 or 7 feet. The ultimate goal is to be able to fill this up at water kiosks. So water kiosk charge for filtered water, $1.25 for 5 gallons, 25 cents a gallon. To us, that's a no-brainer. If we can fill this tank up for whatever that costs, $5, then we get good tasting filtered water for $5. Perfect. So we haven't tested it yet, but that's the ultimate goal. We'll see. Lastly, we'll talk about the tank. We got a 20-gallon tank. We bought it off of Amazon, something like $110, and it comes with all the fittings and everything you need. It was a little frustrating because the threads that they use in the tank seem to be more or less special. They only seem to make them with copper, and you shouldn't be putting copper into a vinyl or plastic, in this case polyethylene threads, because the copper threads, as they pull on those polyethylene threads, can deform them. If you accidentally misthread it as you're tightening down the fitting, you can strip the threads, and you don't want to do that on your brand new tank. So we did use copper fittings. We had to. Couldn't find anything else. What that meant for me is I slowly put the thread in, and I made sure it was all threading correctly, and I didn't over tighten it. A lot of people want to torque down on it, prevent any leaks, and that actually ends up causing the leak, which is kind of counterintuitive, but you don't want to over tighten it. Test it before you over tighten, because if it doesn't leak, then there's no need to continue the tightening. So other than that, the tank has been really great. It holds water, which is all it's supposed to do, and it's doing a good job of that, so we're happy. And there's not too much else to say about it. The threads were the only downside. $110, can't beat it. 20 gallons seems to be pretty good for 2 people traveling in a van. We can get quite a few days of water out of that, and if you get a gallon or 2 of water for drinking water, if you don't like the taste that comes out of this, then you really will be set. But 20 gallons between 2 people lasts a few days, and that's more than enough time. So we're happy with the size of the system, the pressure we're getting. Everything seems to be working. Hope this helps you with your plumbing, and hope you enjoyed seeing our system.